Good evening, everyone. Calling to order the Finance and Revenue Committee. Bernie Flynn is chair, Mr. William Scott Esquire, and Mr. Nick Allen. Department head Barbara Leone, finance director, and borough manager Michael A. Perone. Moving on to number 2, comments, suggestions, and petitions by residents in attendance regarding items not on the agenda. Do we have anyone? Right, moving on to number 3. Consider approving the purchase and installation of playground equipment from Play Power LT Farmington for Marshall Square Park at a cost of $45,052.40. Mr. Kowalski.
Keith Karowski, Director of the Parks and Rec Department. This project is a little over a year in the making. It's a pretty simple ask. We have budgeted $45,000 in this year's budget for this project, and the project costs $45,000. The Friends of Marshall Square Park are going to pick up the tab for the site planning or the site grading to get the project ready to go.
The new equipment or the new playground equipment that we have there, is it compatible or is it the same manufacturer as the units that are there now?
Totally different. It's a 2 to 5 year old setup for the small playground composite piece. And then the swings that are being included are all inclusive. So children with disabilities can use them.
Mr. Allen, do you have anything? Mr. Scott?
No, thank you for moving.
It's a 3-0 for number 3. Number 4, discuss the 2022 budget timeline. Ms. Leon?
So we recently met with department heads to discuss their budget needs for 2022, as well as review what the expectations are for the budget process and changes to the format. Department heads will be expected to present their respective budget requests before their committees next month. We'll have a preliminary budget before the Finance Committee for review at their August meeting, and in September, we will have a preliminary budget for review before Borough Council. Are there any questions?
Yeah, last month we talked about having Finance Committee go through and vet some of the budgets, which are not so big and complicated as others. Paul,
Yes.
is that consistent with what you're telling us?
Yes, so each of the departments will go before their respective committees next month. So meaning police will go before public safety as well as fire. And then we will have IT, admin, and finance go before the Finance Committee. And then we also have building and housing, which would go before their committee, as well as the recreation department. So yes, that plan is still in effect.
Yeah. We could handle building and housing too. I thought that was in the consensus that they all go together. Not too concerned about it, but how many different departments are you talking about?
7.
That's it, 7. Okay, and how many go to finance? You don't have a problem with it, or it's not what it's going to happen? Yeah. Okay. Well, I led the discussion last month because I was not thinking that having everybody do it at once, whether it's in front of finance or the whole council at the outset was the way to go, although I wasn't prepared to revert back to the old way. But are you two on the same page?
Yeah, we're saying the same thing. What I'm basically laying out is what our timeline is going to be. Just putting it for the record where things are headed at this point in time. So yes, each of the respective departments will go before their committees next month to talk about their budget requests, just as what was asked
Well,
from
may
you
I
last
a-
month.
May I ask my fellow committee members, Mr. Chairman, do we need to have a special finance meeting for the work that's cut out for us?
No, I don't think so. We could do it during our a dedicated committee meeting, not another one, no.
You don't want to go back to weekly meetings again?
Say what?
You don't want to do weekly meetings again? It was fun.
He wants to know if you want to do weekly meetings again.
I don't want to meet extra. If we can get away without it, obviously that'd be
Okay.
ideal.
I'm free Saturday, by the way. So,
Why don't we go through the committee's meetings next month, see where we get, and see if we need to schedule additional time, then we do that. Is that fair?
okay. I'd like to bring up a point that's relevant to this, and which is, are all council committee meetings a half an hour in length now, every one of them?
No, they're not a half hour in length. They're scheduled that way so that there's no dead stop of any meeting.
All right, so they're all scheduled for a half an hour.
No, they're not scheduled for a half an hour. They're scheduled for a certain time to start. One runs over, the next one starts a little later, that's all. The only obligation we have to do is to advertise the start of a meeting. We can't start the meeting that we can start after. We can talk about that later if you don't. We're talking
Well,
about.
I'd just like to make the point that if citizens are coming for something important to them that's on Finance Committee, and they come here at, what, 6 o'clock? And they have to wait an hour there, and we're going gangbusters because we have no constraints about when we end based on the will, just say. I mean, that's a problem for the citizenry, in my opinion, so.
No, that's what we did for years, and the staff would sit here to schedule an hour for meetings, we'd be done in 5 minutes, and everybody sat here for 15 minutes. That's the time. Yes, you are right, occasionally, somebody comes to a meeting, say 6 o'clock, and they don't get to address 6:30. I don't see that as a big problem. Spend more time with us.
Well, you're a real action man, Mr. Borough Manager,
We are family, remember?
looking to push things along. Up, 2, 3, 4.
Thank you, Ms. Leonti. It's amazing, when you get what you want, you're still not sure that you got what you wanted. And we followed his program to the letter, and he still wants to argue about it. It's a wonderful thing.
Talking about me?
Yeah. Moving on
She
to,
said we're all on the same page, so how can I argue that?
you can't. Moving on to number 5, May 2021 financials.
If we could start with page 1, please. I'm looking at the Treasury report for the month of May. If we scroll to the bottom, we started the month with 16,615,768 in cash. We brought in 4,277,119 in receipts. We spent or transferred out 2,765,328, and we ended the month with 18,127,559 in cash. Going over to page 3. Looking at the budget to actual summary for the year-to-date, May 31st, 2021. Actual revenues were 15,889,677. Actual expenses were 10,518,015. This left us with a net income of 5,371,661. Looking at some of the variance analysis for the month, looking at revenues, we are seeing both our tax revenues and our local enabling taxes are meeting budget. Sewer rentals are still trailing budget year to date by almost $493,000. However, the expenses are keeping within budget. Both the ordinance violations, restitution, and police alarms are trailing budget at May 31st by almost $34,000. Based on this trend, if we project this out to year end, we are looking at the revenues in these line items falling behind budget by almost $240,000. And again, that's just based on the trends that we're seeing at this point in time. Police overtime at 531 is 118,369. Based at this point in time at May 31st, the line item is over budget. If we were to project this line item out to year end, based on the trends that are in place now, this line item is expected to be over budget by almost $46,000. Looking at some of the spending highlights, what we're seeing as of May 31st, we're seeing that we're spending a lot of money in credit card transactions. That's both in the general fund as well as the parking fund. We're also seeing an increase in building maintenance. This line item is within the Public Works Department. As of May 31st, this line item only has $17,000 left, and we've recently received 2 PO requests that total around $20,000, which will make this line item over budget as of 6/30, and then going forward, we project this to be more than that overspent. Looking at the parking fund, ticket income is exceeding year-to-date budget by $127,000. However, both the meters and parking garages are still trailing budget by almost $207,000. The expenses in the parking fund are keeping within budget. Looking at the enterprise funds as a whole, both the parking and the sewer funds posted a net loss for the month of May of, they posted a net loss for the month of $32,643. Year to date, they have a net income of $689,033. If you compare this to May 31st, 2019, which is the last good year of when things were normal, the net income for the enterprise funds was $1,186,804. So looking at this difference, we can see that we can no longer rely on those funds to cover any losses in revenue or expenses that are overspent in other line items. Are there any questions?
As I've always say, as parking goes, the borough goes. Mr. Merritt gave us an update last night that the parking was improving, but still way below expectation, even though we're meeting the downplayed budget that he actually pulled together for 2021, based on the pandemic in 2020. Once parking comes back, as I mentioned last night during our Public Works meeting, and funding's there, then we can start doing a lot more for the residents of the borough. So thank you. The only question I have for you is, can you explain a little bit about the uptick in usage of the credit cards? Because we're probably paying, are we paying a very large amount of money back to the percentage back?
So right now, when people come into the building and they pay for either, a building permit or anything at the finance or building and housing department, we will charge a 3% fee for the use of a credit card. However, and that's in parking as well. But the credit card processing fees are more with, the meters that are out there, as well as just general banking fees. So that is a goal of the finance department for 2022, to look for other avenues to reduce some of these costs. But I wanted to put it on record that these are increasing.
Mr. Scott, Mr. Allen, and I thought we addressed the credit card, the chargeback, the 3%, to the end user, you know, for that usage. I think it was 1%, I remember, for the parking meters. My memory's still good about that?
We're only charging that fee because what was passed was for any payments that are made in the borough building, not for anything online.
Mr. Allen, do you have any questions about?
Yeah, just one. So last night with parking, we talked a little bit about how we expect to catch up to budget when the university's back. Is that something we're also looking at optimistically in terms of our sewer income?
I think sewer will rebound, but again, this is just based on what I have in front of me at this point in time, and if, you know, just projecting out based on what the current trends are. But my hope would be that, you know, once everything is back in place, that would come along as well.
I think our expectations for the last quarter of the year are higher anyway, so that was already kind of baked into the cake.
I don't have any questions. Do you want me to ask some, though?
No. Thank you, Ms. Leonti. We're now moved on to number 6, approve May's 2021 minutes. Mr. Allen? Mr. Scott? I have one thing under other business I want to discuss with the Finance Committee. This is based off of last night. Bill, this is a pain to hold this thing down. Do you know that? I know. I want it on the record. Thank you. Last night, when I was going through the numbers after I go home, Public Works presented the committee with 2 major issues that are not on the budget line items, and they totaled roughly about $20,000. And on Monday night, we had a very, very good meeting with SEPTA managers, and they clearly told us that they don't have any plans for us to bring back the commuter train line at this particular time or within their 12-year program. We do have 2 emergency problems right now. One with one of our tenants that we have to fix their air conditioner, and the unit here in the main building, which has to be fixed as well. The economic impact study for the train committee, we have borough money sitting there of roughly $19,000. And the county money, I don't know if it ever got there yet, but the county money could stay in that fund for the train. I'd like to know, we don't have any money listed for to fix these 2 items. And I would like to do a budget modification somehow to transfer the $19,000 for short-term fix to the 2 air conditioners, because we do have the money sitting there in the accounts, and we don't have any money to fix them. So I'm asking 2 members of council that were here last night, you know, what's your feelings on that?
What's the timeline for us spending this 19K from the train?
Well, I guess the first question is, we haven't received grant money from the county. They've allocated it to us. It has to go back to the commissioners for final. We can't just take that money and do nothing with it. We have to use it for the grant that was. If we don't, we have to return the money. If you do something and you don't use the money, that's got to go back. In the budget, Barb, would we have 9,000 for the restoration or the road committee, the council approved an additional 6, so that's 15,000.
Excuse me, 15,000. So we have 15,000 ready cash that we could fix the 2 units that are imperative to get fixed because it's, something to the running store and as well as the condition here at Borough Hall. Because we got pinched on we didn't have any funds to back it up. So it's not like they wouldn't get it back. It was that we need it now to do the repairs.
I think my question is a little more procedural because we go over budget on stuff all the time. It's just what happens. So why is this any different? Why wouldn't we just get to the end of the year and say, oh, we went over budget on this line item, deal with it?
Mr. Scott?
After Monday night, I still do not feel that restoring rail service to Westchester's a dead issue. Ain't gonna happen soon, but I didn't see it foreclosed. And I think in good faith, we said we want to spend the money on this evaluation. I think that's the last thing we're going to do, though, tell you the truth. But I think we voted for it. I think it's in the budget. I don't think we could change it. And I agree with what I think I understand Brother Allen to be saying is that why do we have to take it from why do we have to repair these air conditioners with those funds? I can't believe that if we hadn't, in the first place, we're talking about $20,000. 6,000 hasn't, I'm committed to that, but we haven't had a budget modification on that. That's not in the budget. 6,000. All right. He approved it, but not in the form of a budget modification. Maybe so. Yeah, I can't imagine that if we didn't have that quote railroad money, that we would just leave these air conditioners in inoperable condition. We'd find money some other way. Just would. You gotta air condition what is it, the chocolate shop or the running store?
Running store.
Chocolate shop would be more critical because it would melt. So I think we should fix the air conditioners, but I don't think we should rescind our vote and commitment to what it is, what minimal it is to the railroad. That's what I think.
Thank you. It was just a question of committee based on looking for where we have liquid funds sitting in different line items. I would, try to find the money somewhere. Hopefully, Mr. Perone and Mr. Metric and Ms. Liani has another idea where they can come up with the $20,000 just to fix that. So, and then the other one was, of course, the street sweeper out of the ballpark at $260,000 to replace the street sweeper.
But
All right.
that's not in the budget. That's something
No,
that just broke down.
It's broken, yeah. So thank you. Yeah. May find it here. Mr. Mayor.
Yeah, I have a question. I mean, don't we have like tax anticipation note, or is that all gone? I mean, don't we have a line of credit, some sort of emergency loan fund that's like a checkbook? So that's gone, correct? But I feel like we're going to, understood. I feel like maybe council should be looking at some other mechanism. You know, Bernie, I won't even address what you just did there, but some other mechanism, because these issues are going to continue to arise. There's going to be cash flow needs in the short term for the rest of the year. And I don't think it's a good idea to start attacking, votes that have already happened for an allocation, for example, for when these issues arise. I think it might be a good idea for council to look at a short-term loan or line of credit in order to provide the Band-Aid and cash flow needs for the borough for these emergency purposes through the rest of the year. That doesn't help in the extremely short term for fixing the HVAC unit over in the running store. But if you're looking to do something like that, there's $45,000 worth of playground equipment that could last another year, I'm sure. So I'm not going to go after that, right? But if we're talking about emergencies, that's a non-emergency item. And I'm not suggesting we do that, by the way. So is there some other mechanism that we can look into as a council to help with some of these emergency short-term needs that are going to continue to pop up?
Mr. Perone, you want to address that, or Mr. Metrick or Barbara Leonti?
Yeah, there's all kind of financial mechanisms you can go after. Our credit limit is not, good right now. It's low. And we had problems getting to 2.5 million to start the year. You have to, just for context, you have to remember, we used the past 4 years, we have not gone out and got a tax anticipation note. We're saving enough money in a cash position where we didn't have, and when we had emergencies, we had extra money to pay. But, I know it's very difficult to raise taxes like the school districts do every year by 2%, 3%, 4%, which we typically don't do, which personally I think is a financial misstep. This past year, going into 2021, salaries alone in the police department were up about $400,000. That's by contract. Or 450, something like that, right, Barb? Our raise in income for property taxes is bringing in less than that. So right off the bat, we're starting off and below the bar where we need to get to. It'd be nice to be able to get us in a financial position, and Sean will talk more about this during the budget process, because I know it's one of his goals, and get back to having that extra 2.5 million or whatever the numbers, 3 months of expense money sitting in the bank at the first of the year. And that takes a big commitment by Borough Council and the citizens, to say, okay, yeah, we need to generate more income, more revenue somehow to get that money in there. Then you don't have to, crazy. If an emergency comes up, we got to run to a bank, there's going to be a lot more to lend us money.
Well,
And there are other options.
And we'll certainly stipulate to the fact that we're not in a great financial situation. But the question was, is there something in the short term that can be done, because these emergencies are going to continue to arise? An interest rate of 3% or something for 6 months, whatever it is not a very heavy carry. I imagine this isn't going to be the last issue that is going to come up in the short term. So just something to think about.
Yeah, I always like to, quote my friend Kyle Hudson. He said that every year last year we raised property taxes 6%, and we brought in $330,000, which did not even cover the police pay raises, as Mr. Prone just mentioned. But not raising taxes every year till we get our feet under us is not a good way to do business. You know, we should take baby steps. Mr. Hudson did mention, 2 to 5% every year till we're solvent again. Mr. Allen's shaking his head because he remembers that conversation. We met, I felt like every week, to try to figure out how to balance the budget 2 years ago, a year and a half ago, which was extremely tedious. And I think we squeezed all the juice out of the lemons that year. But if things continue as they are right now, we haven't started the budget process, but looking at, we can't come up with $20,000, off a line item. It looks pretty prudent that we may have to go back to the residents of the borough again and request another increase. So, but Mr. Scott has something to say.
I'm interested in the ransomware attacks that have been going on. And they've been hitting all kinds of organizations, some not as big as Pipeline Company. And I'm just hoping that we're just giving it some thought, what would happen if we got hit. I can't imagine there aren't meetings going on, county-wide or statewide, and I'm just hoping Mr. Mann is on top of this, because it was not too many years ago that my computer got hit by ransomware. Remember that, Bill? And
I was not responsible for your computer at that time.
pardon?
I was not responsible for your computer at that time.
He wasn't responsible.
I see what you're doing. But seriously, you'll remember that I got hit by ransomware. You shut down everybody else's computer and oh yeah, you did. Okay, you didn't do it. I'll get the backup on that. But what are you laughing at? All I'm saying is we're not immune, and I think some huh? Yeah, well, I got life insurance, but I still,
You don't want to use it.
I'm,
Bill, in addition to the insurance, we also do have cybersecurity software, advanced threat protection software. It's blocking phishing attacks every single day, sometimes 30 or 40 a day. So doing a good job. We do cybersecurity training every 3 months. You're always invited to come. I do invite you guys. We're going to have one in a couple of weeks. So we're doing the best we can in addition to the insurance, but we have good solutions in place, I hope.
I'm not being critical in any sense. I'm just saying, uh-oh.
I'm the first one to tell you, it's a major threat. Washington DC PD got slammed, lost a lot of money about 2 months ago. The pipeline, the meat factory, local governments are being hit all the time, which is why we spend 31% of our budget, technology budget, on cybersecurity alone. So almost over 30% of my budget's on security.
You know, I have total faith in you, Bill.
Good questions. Thank you. I'm glad I got to talk about it for a second.
7:10. Anyone else have anything they want to share for finance? Meeting adjourned.